Hello and welcome to All Killer No Filler. It is Friday. It's been a hell of a week, I think, for probably everyone, maybe in the world, definitely North America, definitely on the D2C team, definitely on the Pilothouse team. I thought, what would be better than to gather the Pilothouse executives, crack a beer, and discuss a little bit about this fantastic journey that we find ourselves on. I will start by saying I was employee number 17 in March when all of this came on, when we started this whole D2C journey. I just came on sort of to help on the BD side of Pilothouse. It's been an absolutely amazing ride, and it's been unreal to see the growth that our team has had over the last little while, led by this executive team. And I just know that we have a lot of agencies on our list. We have mostly brands, about 60% brands, but I know we have a ton of agencies on the list as well. And I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that have worked best for us in terms of agency growth, some of the hiccups and heartaches that we've had over the last little while, and how we've overcome them, and just get your guys' perspective on this wild ride we find ourselves on. Welcome to All Killer No Filler. How are you guys doing?
Eric,
Good,
thanks.
man.
You didn't tell me I was supposed to bring a beer though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was tea.
This is just you drinking on the job.
Just getting a little loose, right? For All Killer No. You got a San Pellegrino here.
I got a San Pellegrino. Eric deserves it. It's been a big week. DTC Plus.
It has been a big week.
Right
We just launched D2Cplus.co. The first plug of the podcast goes to D2Cplus.co. It's our membership tier of the D2C platform. So go check that out right now. Guys, let's start with a value rocket though. Who can step up and talk about one of the most what's been one of the most pivotal aspects that's allowed us to grow? What is that, like 500% or whatever it's been, or thousands of percent over the last 6 months?
Oh man. So
Dave,
you're getting.
Yeah, sorry. Dave was going to say something.
Oh, if he's got one, go for it.
I can throw one in there.
There you go.
If you're running an agency, only profit when your client profits, and that will not lead you astray.
I like it.
That's a good one.
And where does that come from? Let's talk a little bit about our background and like where that mentality comes from. That's an affiliate mentality in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, Kyle and I started a company called Helmkin in 2014. And we really came from the affiliate world. So the affiliate world is where you eat what you kill. You know, we deploy our capital on a daily basis, trying to make back more money. So really the performance model is inherent to everything we do and where we come from. And Pilothouse grew out of that.
Totally. And so we've been able to apply that model to the agency game. I think there's a lot of agencies out there. What is the most common way that agencies bill? I guess it's essentially, percentage of spend. Is that still the norm, do you guys think?
I'd say retainer plus performance. Performance is going to be percent of spend, maybe a CPA if you're doing, lead gen, or perhaps percent ROAS.
Very interesting. What else? We got to first of all make sure that you don't profit when your client isn't profiting. How do you balance that? How do you balance that with the agency's profitability and the agency's growth? Because not every account is going to be able to crush.
Yeah, Dave's gonna go here.
I was going to say, I think it's a culture thing, right? Like it has to be ingrained in the culture. You have to have players on the team who want to get paid when they win and they want to bleed when they lose, right? Not everybody wants that, right? Some people want stability, they want safety, and power to them. There's plenty of jobs that offer that. We happen to be in an industry that allows hustlers and ambitious people to climb the ladder faster, and they can do that in a matter of weeks, months, in the course of a year. It's insane to see what some people have been able to do and accomplish and progress, and I think that's what fuels it.
And you have to have those wins public in the company so that people kind of see these ascensions, these transformations that people make. And that all gets kind of facilitated through shout outs on Slack and email, and just a lot of celebration of people when they have wins, so that you can kind of hold those people up as models for other people to follow in a way. That's what I'm so interested in, just the hiring side. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
I think I was just going to pile on top there. I think that's important. That works when you have the right people, when you have people that can kind of be in that type of culture without ego and without these other things blocking them from really being a team and supporting each other, elevating each other, and getting those wins. So the next piece, on my mind, other than aligning profit with your client, is putting the right people in the right seats. And I think that's allowed us to go from that mid-level to that next level in a more comfortable way, without the wheels falling off, quite frankly. So that's definitely a big focus of ours.
Can you give an example of that? Not an example of maybe of a specific employee or whatever, but when you say putting people in the right places, is that about sort of compartmentalizing your internal processes and making sure people are doing the specific jobs that are kind of best for them? Like, what does that actually mean practically?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts right at the hiring side. You're just about to go into screening process, multiple kind of checks into whether or not people are going to fit within our culture. So if they get past that, then it's really understanding what motivates them, understanding their drive. And so is it seeing our clients win? Pretty much everyone has to have that. That's a criteria. That's a must. But there are people that will do anything that they can to make that happen, and have some of the analytical or strategy sides of things that we can kind of build into the client teams. And then there's other people who are more satisfied, have pride of their own work and their creations, and obviously enjoy that it provides success for our clients, but are more interested in the work that they're doing, and there's value in that as well. And so that's what I mean by having the right people in the right places, is that if we make sure that we know what motivates them and know what their strong suits are, then we're going to get the most out of them.
And what does that mean practically? Because I know you and Kyle specifically, Andrew's our COO, and Kyle, I know you're a co-founder. I forget your actual title within the company, but I know you guys are.
I think this month it's CRO.
It's CRO, chief CRO guy. But I know you guys you're on the phones all the time. You're in meetings with staff like a lot. There's a lot of touch points that we have. I feel like you guys are really good at what's called leading from the rear, sort of like being in the trenches with people, so that they really understand that you've got their back. You're kind of beside them. Can you speak to that a little bit about what that's meant for you guys, like having to take on 60 employees in this growth journey?
Yeah, 60. I mean, we're at 74 or something now.
74 now.
Yeah, I just got the update.
That was last week.
Yeah, exactly. And I think leading from behind. I mean, I am in the we are certainly in the trenches. But I think from a high level, the four of us, we've broken out our roles so that it's sustainable, so that we can focus in on the things that matter. Me, it's like I work on sales and onboarding. Let's ensure that the clients we bring in are awesome and that their success has a higher chance of surviving. Andrew, in charge of the ops, the back end, ensuring departmentally that things make sense, that people's opinions are heard and implemented, and so on. Dave, really looking at new ventures. Where's the next opportunity? How do we support our clients? And then Jeff, managing money and thinking critically about the decisions that we're all making, and challenging us on that. From an employee standpoint, it's the same thing. Like Andrew said, everyone has their talents. So we do a couple things. One, we listen to our employees, no matter how experienced they are, because we're bringing in talent that we believe and trust in from the beginning, and we establish a good rapport that way. And we say, I say this literally, like word for word. People who I've hired are going to laugh at this, but listen, I'm going to give myself to you, but I expect the same in return, and I'm going to help you build that confidence that you need.
Very cool.
You do that enough times with enough great people, you have a great organization.
And I think that's really, we've done a really good job of that. To me, the fact that we have a company that when we get together, we're kind of so much of it, we're all on the same wavelength. And the fact is, I've never met these people before. The fact, so many of us are in the same city. But the fact that we've been able to collect a group of people and been able to align them and incentivize them and give them, the passion, for this agency when we've not been in the same office together, when we've just been connected from our homes, we've just been connected by a Slack or by email. It's been pretty remarkable. Like, how do you guys account for that?
I think that it's something you can't account for. It's not a numbers thing. I think it's an emotional thing. And I think that again, like Dave said, ensuring that, and Andrew, but making sure that the people have the right attitude, regardless of expertise. You could be the best media buyer in the world, but be a dickhead. We don't want you here because it just doesn't align with our values. Just like if you're a dickhead client, like, we don't want you. So don't bother applying. But it's something you can't count for. It is purely the people that you put yourself around.
And how do we quickly, Dave, this is a question for you then. How do we quickly find those people? How do we know, like, how quickly in a conversation with people do you know that they're going to be, on board?
Well, recently I hired an executive assistant to help with the screening process because, we now have quite a bit of visibility, and we've actually got, there's lots of people who are kind of knocking on our door saying, hey, I want to work for Pilothouse in some way, shape, or form. And to that point, how do you screen quickly, but at the same time give people a fair chance? And really, that was about defining those fundamentals that we look for, that we've just seen our shooting stars all tend to have common traits. So we just, first of all, assess those traits and then, document it, and then really look for those traits in new people. And I think just be super upfront about it. Like, the very first call I have with anyone, like, I go deep. I ask them those real core questions. What are your values, right? And really try and get to the core of who they are, what makes them tick. And then, to be honest, it's been a lot of gut checking, right? I can tell, do I enjoy this conversation? Is it taking me a lot of energy to converse with this person? The client is going to feel that way too, right? Is this person leading me? Are they telling me stories? They're a great storyteller. That's a good sign. A client wants that in a staff member. So, maybe why don't we go around real quick and just for, other agencies out there, like, what should their matrix look like? Like, what are those things that you just straight up in an interview they need to have?
That's a really interesting question, Dave. Like, because there's different types of businesses too. Ours is unique, I think, in the space a little bit, and how, 5 bodies per account and so on. But, agencies coming up, one, I think, like, as an owner, you need to figure out what your values are. If you're alone in this business, it's lonely and it's hard and it's an uphill battle. And, before we get into these values, I think you just need to look at what type of agency you are, or even brand. Like, brand should be doing this too. You're essentially building the same talent around you that we've built here. But what are your values? And then, do you have partners? What are your partners' strengths? If you don't have partners, how do you find someone that shares your values that you trust? That's the hardest part, is finding good partners, I think. And partners can be employees. I have great employees that I consider partners in my head, even though they're not technically on paper, right?
When you say partners there, are you referring to
Business partners?
Business partners. So people that sort of like expand the business.
Clients too, though, man. Like, clients too. Like, if like our clients are our partners, and the ones that succeed are very like-minded.
I was gonna use the word like family, right? You were saying, we don't want dickhead employees and dickhead clients. Like, it's because what this is built on is really, this partnership, or this family like atmosphere. We have that type of feedback from our clients often, and there's nothing better than hearing that, like, when they consider us family, right? That's when we know, we're doing the right thing.
It's a valuable. Sorry, Jeff.
No, it's okay.
It's a valuable exercise to define those values and fundamentals. For, like, this goes back, this classic leadership business stuff. But the reason it's important is that when you're doing your 30-day reviews, 60-day reviews with team members, you can actually just point directly. This is why things aren't working. Our breakdown is because we don't have transparency or visibility in the work you're doing, especially now that things are remote. People, can suffer in silence. They feel like they're on an island, and it's because we've got no visibility into why they're not succeeding. So if you solve that, we can all of a sudden see where the pitfalls are, where their weaknesses are, and we can help support.
How do you solve that?
So imbuing communication, transparency, visibility into the core essence of what our agency stands for, not just internally, but for clients as well, because they feel the same way. If they don't have visibility into what we're doing, they're thinking, hey, we're paying these guys, are they even working? You know what I mean? So we've solved for that as a core principle. That means every announcement we talk about it, every review we talk about it, every meeting we talk about it, and it radiates from within.
What's our Slack total up to? What's our monthly Slack flex on messages that we send? I think
It's a lot.
it was ridiculous, an unbelievable amount. But that's because I think we build that idea of like not over communication, but like constant communication, whether it's to the client or to each other, into the DNA.
I think one thing that kind of, one thing we've found as a constant, almost always marker of success is hiring entrepreneurs. And I think a lot of businesses are scared to do that. They're scared to hire people that have their own goals and aspirations. And it's so backwards, because as long as your company aligns with their goals and aspirations, you're both going to get so much further than you would have if they were on their own or we were on our own. You can't, a lot of agencies hire people, they follow a playlist or a playbook, and they get burned out after 2 years. They work until, they hire young people, they're burned out, they work until 9 p.m. every night and they're gone, because that position isn't helping them get to that next step. And I think that's something we really value, is trying to, not only financially, but in the world of career growth, we really want these people, these partners, these people that work with us to grow to that next stage. And I think that's something we really, really value.
Yeah, uncapped potential in every position, right? Like,
well, and Eric, I think you're a good example of that, right? I mean, like right now, we hired Eric as helping with business development, basically. And now, we're about to split out DTC into its own corporation. Eric's a business partner, and we're making that next step. Eric's an entrepreneur. It was, it has helped us both grow to this place we wouldn't have necessarily been had we just hired Eric and said, hey, you do podcasts for a living, and that's it.
Dave's another great example. Literally, Dave used to be, Helmkin employee for a long time, and Dave just kicked ass, grew, wanted it, fought for it, and then he built Pilothouse. Me and Stern didn't even get involved until a year ago.
Yeah.
Well, Stern's a good example too. I mean, everyone here is basically, except for Kyle and I, started out as an employee, and now we're moving into partnerships, right? Which I have.
And that happens again and again and again and again. So it's like this. Dave talks about this abundance mindset. Support the players, support the winners, give them everything they need to win, and they will.
And make it known that their growth, you want to be a partner in their growth, whether that's through their, employment path at Pilothouse, or whether that's through other opportunities. It goes back to that first conversation I sat down with Dave. And, I'd been in the business a bunch. I had all these contacts. So on my mind, I'm thinking equity, like, let's talk about equity. And obviously that was early days, but Dave was like, let's talk about creating equity. And I think that's the real key. I think when it comes to, providing employees this path up, it's not just about how they can get a piece of what you've built and what they're helping build, but also like, what can you build together that can create equity for the entire institution? And I know we're looking at that again and again with employees. And it's just so important that that's built into the DNA of the company as well, that they know that path exists.
Yeah, and doing that in a way that isn't bullshit. Like bullshit carrots. Here is an agency problem. Bullshit carrots. Okay? Like there's agency world, like stock trader world, like all these kind of, fast-paced moving industries. It's like carrot and stick. And an old mentor asked me once, he's like, this is where I got this from. He's like, man, you're giving me the stick here. Like I'm trying to give you a carrot. And what I learned from that is that, I hope he listens to this, but what I learned from that is like you can create real opportunity as long as everyone's clear and aligned. I think smaller agencies, because we've been through this, I think smaller agencies, it's like, how do I even look up and get to that next level? How do I support and build confidence, with the team around me? because like I think Jeff said 2 years or whatever, right? People are gonna get burned out if you don't actually show value in what you're delivering. And I think that we've done a good job giving people opportunities, which has created more opportunities, therefore, which creates more opportunity for other people. As long as you're clear and transparent and you're not bullshitting, I think you'll do fine.
And I think when you hire people like that, you end up with a really good product. And that's not to toot our own horn, but that's why we do so well. That's why our clients are so happy with our success and their success, working with Pilothouse, is because you have this team of people that all want the same thing. They're all aligned. They're all looking for growth. Entrepreneurs want to solve problems. They're not book followers. They're not rule followers. And that's how you solve problems. That's how you get to that next stage of cracking the code on a new account that's been stubborn for 4 months. That's how you get it to, $1 million a month.
So someone, like, we can say this now because we've been through it, right? But like, someone like a 10-person company or a 5-person company, like, how do they break through? Because it took me years to break through this, my idea of abundance. You guys did it to me, like, straight up. Like, how do you break through? How do you change that mindset?
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people did. Like I was saying earlier, like I think a lot of agencies over the last 6-8 months have probably experienced maybe more success than they had previously, or maybe more growth, just from the fact that the industry grew so much. But that, that is not going to take a lot of companies far if they don't have the same, if they don't have if they don't have their fundamentals, buttoned up.
It's a tough one. I mean, for me personally, my journey, I was always, I read every entrepreneurship book under the sun, right? And it was all about starting your own business. And to me, that meant I was the owner, right? And so I burned myself out trying to solve all the problems myself, right? And that's when one day I said, you know what, man, that it's not going to work like that. That's when I got introduced to you guys and realized that, wow, you can go so much farther, so much faster even with a team. And so it really clicked for me is to say, hey, I'd way rather have a smaller piece of a bigger pie, a successful pie, a growing pie that I could wake up every day and feel pumped about, and then focus on making that pie bigger, right? And then my piece is actually bigger than it would have been in the first place. And so I think that's the click. And how that happens, I think, is going to be unique for everybody. But once you're willing to accept it, then it can manifest in its own way.
I think that was a big thing for Kyle and I too. I mean, there's no doubt, up until when we started Pilothouse with you, Dave, I mean, prior to that, it was, Kyle and I, it was the Kyle and Jeff show at Helmkin. Like we really, not that we didn't have really talented team, but everything came down to Kyle and I. That's what it was. And we didn't delegate well. We didn't put people in positions of responsibility. We really felt like that we had to do absolutely everything ourselves. And it really did take launching Pilothouse to realize, oh shit, there's people that are way better at me than a lot of different things that are, them taking it from 0 to 1 is like a piece of cake. Whereas me, I got to learn how to do this thing.
Who not how?
Yeah, Who Not How. Great book. I think that was a really interesting. I think Kyle and I both came to that realization pretty quickly when Pilothouse got launched, no question.
Very interesting. So I wanted to talk about, we're talking a little bit about opportunities. And I know just in the past 8 months, Pilothouse has expanded in so many different ways, whether it's, adding to our Google team, adding to our Amazon team, adding an email division, adding all these different things to service clients. I'm wondering, like, where do we think the big opportunities with 2021 are with digital agencies? What are the areas we are most excited about for growth?
Doing it all.
I mean, look, I think, there's no question. We come from the affiliate world. We come from that performance world. We know, how to make people money on the internet, basically, putting ads up, making more money with sales. Where I don't think a lot of people have that is in the larger Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. I think there's a huge amount of opportunity there. I think these people are spending hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars a year on completely untrackable costs and revenues. And I don't think, the performance model will take over 100% of it. I think there's always a huge, huge place for branding and that kind of thing. But I think we will see big companies like that starting to move into the performance world. And I think that's definitely something we'll be going after.
Nice. What about, I know we're looking at growing out our UGC team and our ability to execute against content creation. I feel like that's a really big opportunity for growth as well. And I know we're hiring in that space, or have hired.
Yeah, I mean, just backing it up a little bit. So like there's legs on the stool, right? Like how do you as an agency, let's just like back to growth, right? So, how do you create stability? Because as you know, okay, you're an agency, maybe 80% of your revenue is from 20% of your clients. How do you fight to make that 50-50? How do you get your clients making 10% revenue on average? Like how do you avoid the whale syndrome that honestly crushes agencies, especially small ones? Add more services, build teams around those services, upsell to your existing clients, email, Google, Facebook, Amazon, comment mod, all these things, creative services, UGC, they all work together and you can find cost savings. So if you can build those teams, find those people around you, even if they're partnership deals, like you're going to be able to service your clients better. You're not fighting for attribution. You're not doing all these things. So leading into 2021 for us, yes, full service UGC team coming up. However, we're only doing that now that we have confidence in our other departments. And so as an agency owner, you just need to figure out where your energy and capacity is and where you can start adding these additional services. Because at the end of the day, your clients need all this stuff. It's just about how you execute it in a way that's profitable.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, it's like our mindset has been deeper integration and aligned strategies, right? So, we do offer a lot of different things, but it's with purpose. It's not, to kind of blow up, our involvement. It's about getting deeper integrated with the clients, making sure that all of these strategies are building up on each other and piggybacking off of each other, because there's efficiencies to be gained. That's one piece, but there's also amplification on what you do by having the same strategies across platforms and across each of these divisions. So it took us a little while to really recognize that to the degree we recognize it now, but that's our big push for having this coverage that we do now. And we see it materialize, for many of our clients in a big way.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I think
Dave.
Since we're aligned, we only profit when a client profits. We have to. It's not a matter of should we go into comment moderation. It's like we have to go into comment moderation, right? Should we build a UGC team? Like we have to build a UGC team. UGC content works, and we only profit when our content works. So we must do that. We must be the best UGC content producers on the planet, because that's exactly where our profit's going to come from. And so I think it's a shift. Instead of saying, how do we build a creative department that we can make a bunch of money on by selling creative? What we're really asking is, how do we build a creative department that generates a lot of profit for our clients? And it's a different approach, because you're going to package it differently. You're going to cost it differently. You're not going to look for ways to cut corners and save costs. You're going to look for ways to get the best talent, ways to get the best creative strategy, because your bottom line depends on it.
And as we fill fun, we talk about this all the time, that the number one thing that separates, good agencies from bad agencies, good media buyers from bad agencies, good campaigns, bad campaigns, is often the amount of creative, the amount of stuff you're willing to test and able to test. So it must be an interesting balance as an agency to balance those things. So that, having to feed the machine with content so that we can make things perform, but then also having to pay for all that content. How does that work? How has that evolved?
I mean, we've certainly uncovered some opportunity for remedy as of late, in terms of costing models and what we're billing for some of our legacy clients and the actual creative work that they're receiving, bit imbalanced. However, we've always had this burn the boats mentality where fuck it, let's just make this work. Okay, cool. whole creative team, I need 50 creatives. Please make that this week, right? And it's just how we roll. And so I think looking forward, having these different groups and being able to build those as separate line items, I think is going to be super cool and powerful. At the same time, it's not where we came from, and maybe that mindset is how we got here.
We've also made some recent moves to integrate our teams and the sides of those teams a lot more, right? Like, creative isn't separate from media buying. They're one thing. If they have to be aligned in strategy, in communication, and connection with our clients.
It's such a big deal.
Bottom. Yeah. Otherwise, we're not just, like Dave said, we're not just creating work for the hell of it. It's not an output thing. It's a results thing. So a big piece of it is constantly trying to make sure all those pieces are gelling together, and the alignments internal as well as externally with the client.
Very cool. What about 2021 goals? Let's end on 2021 goals for Pilothouse. You don't have to be super specific. Are we we're at 74 or so now? Do we have goals in terms of the size of company? Do we want to double? Do we want to triple? What are we going to do in 2021?
I won't talk about staff numbers or actual numbers, but we're looking to triple in 2021 from where we were in 2020. And I think it's, we're actually ahead of schedule by a large margin to where we thought we'd be at this point. We just had to talk about that today. So, I mean, yeah, I think that should be absolutely achievable.
You love picking big numbers. I love it. And is that across all business units? Is that across, that's across D2C as well as Helmkin? Or is that a specific Pilothouse goal?
That's just Pilothouse.
Well, we're going to triple. D2C is going to more than triple.
That's not going to be hard, buddy.
That's not going to be.
He started at 0 like a few months ago, so we should be good.
Exactly. Well, let's wrap it up. D2Cplus.co. You can go there right now. We're going to be running monthly workshops that are very similar to the Flywheel Challenge that we just created. Over the shoulder technical advice, technical transformation. Our next one in November is going to be all about automated rules. So if you've known you need to set up automated rules, but you just haven't got around to doing it, this workshop is going to walk you through the exact steps you need to take. You're going to look over the shoulder of our top senior media buyers on exactly how they do these kinds of things. They'll take your questions in real time. And we're going to be doing this every single month. And if you go to D2Cplus.co, you can be a part of these amazing learning workshops, as well as get all of the past newsletter content in an easy to use vault. You'll get to join our Facebook group. There's a few other perks in there as well. You'll be able to use ask live or ask questions of all of our podcast guests. You'll be able to submit questions to all killer, no filler, and you'll be able to get those questions answered as well. So go to D2Cplus.co and make sure you take advantage of this amazing offer. Nice. Thanks, guys. I know we've got company trivia coming up here, which is another one of those amazing things that we do to keep everyone aligned. So I look forward to kicking all your asses.
Better sign up. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah,
Cheers.
appreciate it.